see him there. That's what I love about the atmosphere of this place. Great to see so many smiling faces of so many great racing drivers, as these guys could end up going on to be the Formula 1 and Indy 500 grids of the future, don't forget. And it's great to see so many smiling faces all doing an amazing job and putting in the very best job they can to continue their career on a good solid weekend to start the European season on a high here in Valencia. It should be a really good weekend. And there is Mr. Orton as well. Hello, Will. Good to see all the drivers doing a good job over the course of the day so far, but with the X30 Super Shifter race coming to a close, that means we now get ourselves back into the mix for the seniors. Now, it is qualifying heat AE next, and that is, of course, made up of the drivers from groups A and E. And that means that we'll have a very interesting and mixed bag of a grid. For the Group E drivers, it is the first time they will race today, and it's certainly the first time they will race against the drivers in Group A as well. So let's talk you through the starting grid for that one. It is going to be an interesting one for a start. The Super Shifters pack away for the moment and get themselves ready for their second heat, which will be, for those who are following the Super Shifter class, it'll be around about 3:20 Spanish time, so that'll be a bit of a wait then for those guys. In the X30 Seniors, meanwhile, it's their race just about now, and that is going to be the next point of call for qualifying heat AE. So let's talk you through the starting grid. Well, it's an all-British front row for a start. Joe Turney, ultimate fastest X30 Senior in qualifying yesterday, as we know, but alongside him on the grid is going to be Mark Kimber, who has been winning pretty much everything in the British mould of karting over the last few years. And no doubt we'll see him battling for X30 Senior honours here this weekend. Xavier Hansen, the Belgian who we saw fight for the lead earlier on, is going to go into the second row of the grid alongside Louis Westover. So that's going to be an interesting battle in and of itself. Then we'll have the third row occupied by Ruben Moya and Enrique Borges Cotes. So an all-Spanish front row there, third row, I should say, sorry. And an all-Spanish fourth row of the grid as well, with Carlos Saval and Jorge Pescador of the Praga Dragon Evolution team. And then we have Alejandro Lajos-Loop and Henry Laws of Great Britain rounding out the top 10. So that's a really spicy top 10, to be fair. Lots of great talent in that grid. And some truly sensational driving, no doubt, to come from this group of drivers. The X30 Seniors will always give us some good entertainment, and that's why we've got a lot of the other seniors and a lot of the juniors and minis here on the viewing gantry as well. They want to see some good racing as much as compete in it, so they're going to get a really interesting grid with a full capacity of, let me do the math, 35 drivers competing in this race. That means it'll take a bit of time to go through the grid, and that is what we've got before the race starts. So let's do it. Joe Turney on the front row of the grid alongside Mark Kimber on that front row, with Xavier Hansen and Louis Westover on the second row. On the third row, it is Ruben Moya and Enrique Borges Cotes, with Carlos Saval and Jorge Pescador on the fourth row of the grid. Alejandro Lajos-Loop and Henry Laws are on the fifth row of the grid. On row 6, it is again all Spanish. Philippe Vava alongside Carlos Martinez Escuderier. Morgan Porter of Great Britain is there alongside Christopher Charney. Vincent Rouard is alongside William Godefroid. That's going to be an interesting battle between those two. Gus Lawrence of Great Britain is on row 9 alongside Hugo Ver. Sylvester Alexievas of Poland is there on row 10 alongside Oscar Palomo of Spain. Then we have the Finn Tony Harainen alongside the Frenchman Enzo Giraud. Rhys Ushijima lines up alongside Jensen Brown. Then we have Alejandro Martinez and Isaac Valtonen from Sweden. Then we have the Finn Toisko Avaska alongside the Japanese racer Masatoru Wada. Tyler Reed is alongside the Dutchman Rivaldo van der Westerlaken. Thomas Ward goes up alongside the Hong Kong ace Boris Jung. And then it is another Hong Kong driver, Tsihim Tsang, alongside the Belgian Simon Enrad. And then we have Teddy Williams at the back of the grid, no doubt looking to charge forward. The clouds are just starting to come in over the circuit to block the sun a little bit. That means that we are getting a little bit more cold around the circuit. It is quite an astonishing contrast around the Valencia circuit. It starts the day absolutely freezing cold to the point where we're all in winter woolies and gloves and all sorts of scarves and hats and all sorts. And then when the sun comes out, it gets pretty hot around here. So you have to then quickly change into shorts and T-shirts. And then by the time it gets to about 4:30, it starts to get cold again. So you have to wrap but warm. It's very unnerving for those who are not used to it, i.e. me. But then you have to kind of get used to it over time. But now the clouds are coming in. It's starting to get a little chilly again. And I wonder, are those clouds thick enough to break? Well, I would say probably not. I think we're okay without the threat of rain. I know they look pretty dark and ominous for those who are trackside here at Valencia, but I don't think that's going to turn into a rain shower. I think they're a little bit too fluffy, a little bit too thin on the mark to really turn into rain clouds, of course. But at this moment in time, I think it's just a little bit ominous rather than actually a serious threat of rain. I think we should be all right, but we'll keep an eye on the weather as it develops. It is going to be very interesting to see how the drivers continue on the rest of the day, as we have the first heat for the E group, and they go up against the A group, who have already had one race. Joe Turney very nearly winning that, of course, in his battle with Dean McDonald. So I think it's going to be really interesting. So I think we're going to have a particularly strong day, and it will be a pretty strong run. So let's see how things go. My phone is actually trying to ask me what the weather is in Chiva. In fact, bless it, my phone has actually listened to my conversation and tried to tell me what the weather is. It does this occasionally. It says wind is starting in the afternoon, clear skies in the evening, with mixed conditions for the rest of the day. Temperatures from 10 degrees this afternoon down to 6 degrees tonight. There is a 10% chance of rain, I'm being told. So that's not a particularly high chance, but it is possible. So we obviously need to keep an eye out for that. Drivers need to have wets on standby, but I don't think you'll need to open up a fresh packet if they are currently under wraps. I think you'll be all right. There is a slim chance of it. So here we go. And hopefully my phone will not try and when a field once again, but it does do that occasionally. At least it's helpful. Right, into A and E we go then. Mark Kimber lead them out for the British contingent. But there's an awful lot of Spaniards in the top 10 who will want to win on home soil once again. And keep an eye out for the man in 4th position on the grid, Xavier Hansheim. He's been very strong over the early stage of the day so far. Don't forget how he fought his way valiantly through to the lead in the earlier heat. So he will want to continue on that great run. The man alongside him on the front row, on the second row of the grid, though, is another Brit who is racing for the first time today, and that is Louis Westover, who has been incredibly strong. One of the top competitors in Great Britain at this level. So Louis Westover will be an interesting one to talk about all the way through the day. Racing under the Piers Sexton Racing colours, of course. And we'll see how well he goes in the early stages of the day here in Valencia. So as we get to midday, it is now 10 minutes past noon here in Valencia. Oh, we've got enough there. That's not gone well. Is that Xavier Hansheim? That is Xavier Hansheim. I do not believe it. On the formation lap, Xavier Hansheim has gone off at the chicane. That is absolutely unbelievable. On the formation lap, Xavier Hansheim has gone off into the barriers. Now, I'm not entirely sure how that happened. Did he lose it on his own? I think a wheel's come off, actually. He's just collecting his wheel. He's holding it in his hand. That is an absolute disaster, but the Belgian, Xavier Hansheim, is out of this race before it even begins. That is absolutely astonishing. But it's game over for Xavier. It's the right rear wheel that has fallen off the kart, and he has gone off at the final chicane on the end of the formation lap. That is absolutely unbelievable. Wow, what a disaster then for the Belgian. Battling for the victory in the first heat, doesn't even start this one. That is catastrophic for Xavier Hansheim, and that really opens up the battle for everyone in behind. So it's Turney and Kimber, Westover on his own on the second row, then Moya, Boris Cortes, Saval, Pescador, Laoslu, Laws, Vava, Martinez Esquia, Porter, Shani, Rua, Godefroid, Lawrence, Vaya, and the rest. Unbelievable though, Xavier Hansheim is missing from the grid, and away we go. The battle is joined straight away, and out in front, Turney hits the front, or is he going to stay there? Just about. He holds on to it in front of the fast starting. I think that's Ruben Moya coming through in a second place. Yes, it is. So Ruben Moya there in P2. Oh, and there's an off. Fired off is the 242. Fired off there at turn 3. Oh, dear, running out of road. Henry Laws goes straight off and out of the race. What a disaster for Henry Laws. There's always going to be one or two who come a cropper in the first lap when it gets so intense, and unfortunately Henry Laws was fired off into the distance there on the exit of turn 3. He kept the car well controlled to make sure he didn't come the circuit on the other side, but Henry Laws is out. Dramatic start then before the race began and just after it. And out onto the circuit goes Xavier Hansheim, and will he join on the lead lap? Only just. But what a disaster for the Belgian Xavier Hansheim, who is very nearly a lap down. Well, leading the race, it is Joe Turney in front of Ruben Moya, Mark Kimber, Carlos Saval, Louis Westover, Alex Lehosloop, Jorge Pescador, and Enric Bordes-Cotes in front of Philippe Valva and Morgan Porter. What a dramatic start to this motor race, as now Xavier Hansheim is surely going to get the blue flags here in front of Joe Turney and Ruben Moya. What a dramatic start to this X30 senior race. I don't think we were expecting it to be quite so thrilling, quite so early on. But now we've got Ruben Moya, the local hero, trying to make the move on Joe Turney for the victory as they lead out the race. And Xavier Hansheim, the Belgian, who should have been with them at the front of the field, is now getting the blue flags. Look at that, the humiliation for the front runner, Xavier Hansheim, as he gets the blue flags. And that means that the whole field is going to sail past him. What a shame for Xavier Hansheim. Now, Hansheim slots in behind Ruben Moya on the road, but he is going to get held up again, surely. And he's going to be blue flagged to get Mark Kimber to get past him. So there goes Mark Kimber. And surely it's going to be Carlos Saval. Yep, he's going to have to move right out of the way, Xavier Hansheim. This is a disaster for the Belgian. Meanwhile, out in front, though, it is still Joe Turney in front of Ruben Moya, Mark Kimber, Carlos Saval, Jorge Pescador, and Louis Westover. Now, Westover is looking for an opportunity to move higher up, but he's got Jorge Pescador in the Praga España kart in front of him. The Praga Dragon Evo chassis going very well in the hands of Jorge Pescador in 5th position, as Xavier Hansheim again moves out of the way to allow Lausloop, Vava, and Cotes Bodas to move through. Here they come, though. Blue flags again for Hansheim. Get out of the way, Xavier. I'm sorry, but your race is definitely done and dusted in terms of leading the race for the battle. Oh, it's a bit of a shaky battle further back for the 369 and 322 as they battle away out of the final turn. They got a little bit too close together for my liking. That's Thomas Ward, I should say, and Tyler Reid. Still battling away towards the tail end of the field. Meanwhile, Mark Kimber has dropped the rest of the field and is starting to close up on Joe Turney and Ruben Moya. So, Ruben Moya trying to hold on to things at the front of the field. And Ruben Moya, the privateer runner, don't forget. He's not running under a team banner this weekend, Ruben Moya. He's on his own. And he's there right in behind the man who leads the way, Joe Turney. And in 3rd place, it is Mark Kimber. Right, left, right in the final chicane, and that was a little bit too much curb for Joe Turney, but he's got enough of an advantage over Ruben Moya to hold on to it for the moment. He keeps a nice defensive line to the inside to ensure that nobody comes through. So this is going well. Up to 4th position now has come Jorge Pescador. He makes the move on Carlos Saval with Louis Westover running there in 6th position. We've got yellow flags up at the left-hand hairpin before the back straight. Somebody has come off the circuit, and I'm trying to figure out who that is. That is Masatora Wada, I believe. Oh, no, sorry, Masatora Wada, I think, did not even take up the start. So that looks like Jensen Brown. Jensen Brown, the Coles Racing star. What a shame for Jensen Brown. It looks like his race is over there at the left-hander before the back straight. Oh dear, they're really starting to come a cropper now as one or two of them are starting to fall away. I'm not sure what caused Jensen Brown's retirement, but that will definitely leave him very disappointed indeed. So we've got several cars parked up. In fact, I can now see Masatora Wada on the far side of the circuit. I think he had a mechanical difficulty as well pre-race, or certainly on the first lap, with Henry Laws out of the race as well. Masatora Wada is likewise, and now so too Jensen Brown. Meanwhile, the leading 3 are still scrapping away for position. Joe Turney, Ruben Moya, and the man in 3rd place, Mark Kimber. Leading the charge behind them, Jorge Pescador. Carlos Saval is in 5th place in front of Louis Westover from Philippe Vava, Enric Bordes-Cotes, Alejandro Lausloop, and Sylvester Alexievis has now come up into the top 10, chased down by Gus Lawrence and Morgan Porter, with the Frenchmen Christopher Chani and Vincent Rouard giving chase. So the leading three still going full guns blazing here. Turney, Moya and Kimber breaking clear. Can Ruben Moya overcome the two Brits? Well, Joe Turney is particularly strong around this circuit. He seems to like it here. He's got a good flow. Behind them, Jorge Pescador running well for Praga, España. And the blue flags wave for Xavier Hansheim once again. He's in the midfield trying to see what sort of pace he would have given, but he's been given the blue flag. And I'm not sure what a lot of the drivers are going to think of Xavier Hansheim trying to just run in formation. But he has been shown the blue flag. I think his attitude is, I'm not going to move out of the way. I'm going to try and get a little bit faster. And Ruben Moya has lost second place to Mark Kimber in all of that. So Mark Kimber has got through and into P2. Now, can he close up on Joe Turney? That's going to be the real question now. So Joe Turney leads the way. Mark Kimber in second. Ruben Moya is third. Fourth place is Jorge Pescador in front of Carlos Saval, with Louis Westover being chased rapidly by Philippe Vava. Down the back straight. Turney still looking good in front of Kimber and Moya. Into the S's. Left, right on the final turn and down the straight. Moya has another opportunity here. I think they need to work together to stop Joe Turney getting away. And Ruben Moya does just that. He's not going to go for the overtake. He wants to help Mark Kimber get a little bit closer. He's got a chance to win if he does it right. And he will know that. He's a smart cookie, is Ruben Moya. He knows what he's doing. Right. Sweep round, left, sweep round again. Jorge Pescador still at the head of the queue from Carlos Saval. Now I think that is Louis Westover still there in front of Philippe Vava. Enrique Borges Cortes is 8th ahead of Alejandro Lajos Loop. Gus Lawrence now up to 10th in front of Morgan Porter, Christopher Shani, Sylvester Alexievas and Vincent Rouard. Then outside, just coming into the top 20, we have Tony Harainen, Reese Ushijima, Carlos Martinez Escria, Toiska Ovasco, Oscar Palomo, and in 20th is the Swede Isaac Valtonen. Great racing at the front though, as Kimber and Moya are working together to close up on Joe Turney, who's desperately trying to get away with 2 laps to go. Ruben Moya and Mark Kimber have got to work together here to try and close up on Joe Turney. The gap is enough that he doesn't have to worry too much. It's about half a second. And that is enough around this circuit for Joe Turney to just continue to do what he's doing. Still good battles further back. That looks like Boris Young is going to try and make a 3-man move, and he's done it. Good overtaking move from Boris Young at turn 1 as the battle really intensifies between those 3 or 4 karts in the mix. That was Boris Young getting the move on Tyler Reed and Alejandro Martinez, and it looked like Rivaldo van der Westerleken went through as well. On to the back straight for the penultimate time. Joe Turney looks good for his first win of the day here. On the back straight, Mark Kimber is chasing him down with assistance from Ruben Moya, but I think they're not going to quite break that gap. Joe Turney has got enough ahead that it's going to be okay. Going into the final lap we go. Joe Turney leads, and Ruben Moya is doing his best to assist Mark Kimber to close him up, but I think Joe Turney's done enough here. Jorge Pescador and Carlos Saval have started to break clear of Louis Westover and Philippe Vava, and it's enough of a gap for them to be okay for the moment. Great racing. Joe Turney leads. Kimber and Moya still scrapping away. And I think Kimber's going to now need to start defending from Ruben Moya, because Moya will try and get that second position off him. It's the best of a bad job as far as Moya is concerned. The checkered flag is being prepared as they come onto the back straight now. They will come round this flowing right-hander, and Joe Turney has done enough. Kimber is trying to break away from Ruben Moya, and I think he's done enough to secure that second place. On the back straight, here we go. Turney, Kimber and Moya, it's going to finish in that order. Joe Turney will come out of the final turn, and what a fantastic round it's been. Joe Turney takes the flag. Second place for Mark Kimber and third for Ruben Moya. Fourth position goes to Jorge Pescador from Carlos Saval in 5th place. 6th from Philippe Vava in the end as Louis Westover. Whoa, 3 wide, a little further back. Goodness me, that one was close. That was Sylvester Alexievas just pipping Vincent Rouard and Tony Harainen to the flag. That was the battle for 13th position, and there was less than a 1/10 of a second between the 3 of them. Great racing to the line. That's the way we do it in the IAME Winter Cup. The third Senior X30 heat of the day goes to Joe Turney, Mark Kimber, Ruben Moya, then Carlos Pescador, Jorge Carlos Pescador, Carlos Saval, Philippe Vava, Louis Westover, Enrique Borges Cortes, Alejandro Lanes Lope, and Gus Lawrence round out the top 10 from Morgan Porter, Christopher Shani, Sylvester Alexievas, Vincent Rouard, Tony Harainen, Oscar Palomo climbs to 16th in the end from Carlos Martinez Escria, Toisko Avaska, Reese Ushijima, Isaac Valtonen and Hugo Var. From Teddy Williams, William Godefroid, Rivaldo van der Westerlaken, Tyler Reed, Boris Young, Alejandro Martinez, Simon Enrad, Enzo Giraud, Thomas Ward and Sihum Sang, with retirements, well, no, a lap down, I should say, for Xavier Hansheim, and then retirements, I'm afraid, for Jensen Brown, Henry Laws and Masatora Wa.